Victoria asked me to help her twist the bottle cap, as I obediently did as told. A row of bullet comments flashed in front of me. He does whatever she says. The second male lead is so foolish. Now he's just helping her twist a bottle cap. Soon enough, he'll be raising her kids. I frowned, rejecting the situation when I saw the suddenly appearing comments, and casually said, "Can't you do it yourself?" Victoria looked at me in disbelief. The bullet comments went wild, flooding the screen. Has the second male lead finally woken up? I hope he stops being so foolish for the heroine and lets us be happy on our own. Chapter 1. Victoria raised her hand and touched my forehead. "Martin, what's wrong with you? It's just twisting a bottle cap, and you can't even do that." I shrugged her off. "You have hands. Just do it yourself. Are you losing your mind today? Don't show up in front of me again. You're starting to annoy me." As I listened to Victoria's words, the comments poured through. The heroine has said it clearly. I'm begging the second male lead to stop being so stubborn. Wake up, second male lead. You're just the heroine's backup. She's not for you. I can't stand thinking that the heroine got pregnant for the main guy, and now we have to watch poor second male lead become the sucker. This is infuriating. Seeing the last comment, my hand clenched tightly. In that moment, I realized I was the second male lead in a romance novel, the one who loved but couldn't have the heroine, and Victoria was the heroine of this story, the one who betrayed her family, broke off her engagement, dropped out of school, and even got pregnant, ruining her life all for the male protagonist. Victoria looked at me with a somewhat dazed expression, waving her hand in front of me. "What's wrong? Why are you spaced out? Can't you see?" I pointed to the comments in front of me. Victoria glanced at the screen, but instead of seeing the comments, she looked through them and saw a man running towards her, his face full of joy. "Thomas, you're here." Victoria hooked her arm around Thomas's, her eyes filled with affection. "Great. Isn't that the supposedly obedient, secretly bad male protagonist, second male lead? You need to open your eyes. These two are going to ruin your life. Please, second male lead, run away. Don't stay with these crazy people." I looked at the comments. Thomas was the male protagonist of this story. He and I were brothers, both of us having been Victoria's childhood friends for 20 years. I liked Victoria, but a year ago, she got together with Thomas. I frowned as I looked at Thomas. I had always seen him as my simple little brother, and even though I knew he might have some small schemes, I never thought he would harm me. But seeing the comments and thinking about how Victoria liked him, and what she did to me for him, I began to realize she might have set me up, ruining my life. I couldn't believe it, though. Victoria and I had been friends for so many years. How could she harm me? "Victoria, it's time for class. You should head back. Thomas wants me to go racing with him." "You go to class on your own." "Victoria, you skipped classes with Thomas last semester and failed. If you skip again, you'll be held back or even expelled." "Enough, Martin. You know, without Thomas, I wouldn't be alive today, and I won't leave him." Victoria finished saying that and walked away, jumping onto Thomas's motorcycle, leaving without a second glance. I stood there, watching Victoria's retreating figure, feeling helpless, but I had no right to stop her. Just then, more comments appeared. "The heroine is basically ruining herself now. After this race, she'll be in a cast for half a month. She used to be a good girl, but look at her now. If it weren't for the male protagonist, she wouldn't have fallen this far." Second male lead, don't follow them. Let them destroy themselves. Don't get in the way. I stopped in my tracks and thought deeply as the comments flooded in. The class bell had already rung. But if what the comments said was true about Victoria, how could I just abandon her? Without even thinking, my body was already moving toward her. What's the second male lead doing? Is he going to save the heroine? Oh no. Second male lead, don't be foolish. The main couple loves racing. If they crash or get hurt, it has nothing to do with you. Second male lead, you're so dumb. Can we just get rid of all these love-struck fools in the world? I paid no attention to the comments insulting me and just kept running. By the time I arrived, I saw an empty stretch of mountain road where Thomas and Victoria were racing. Thomas was holding the motorcycle with one hand while casually eating cherries that Victoria was feeding him. He didn't care about his surroundings at all and kissed her nonchalantly. "Thomas, Victoria, be careful." Thomas, lost in his little world with Victoria, didn't notice the sharp turn ahead. I shouted and ran toward Victoria's direction. Only when Thomas heard my voice did he hurriedly slam on the brakes, scraping the side of a stone wall, before finally coming to a stop. Chapter 2. I walked up and grabbed Victoria's arm. "Victoria, do you have any idea how dangerous this is? Come back with me." "Martin, what are you doing?" Victoria pulled my hand away and gently held Thomas's wrist, blowing on it with concern. "Thomas, does it hurt? Let me blow on it for you." At that moment, I felt like an extra, wishing I could just bury myself in a crack in the ground. Is the second male lead stupid? He's practically become part of the male and female leads flirting. Please, second male lead, Open your eyes. The heroin isn't worth it. I feel so bad for the second male lead. He almost died saving the heroine before. It's just not fair. I clenched my fist tightly. A year ago, Victoria had a car accident and needed a blood transfusion. But the blood bank didn't have her blood type. I donated blood until I passed out from blood loss. When I woke up, I only saw Victoria holding Thomas, crying and thanking him. In that moment, I realized Thomas had stolen my credit. That night, Thomas knelt in front of me and told me how much he loved Victoria. Seeing how Victoria became more and more dependent on Thomas, I finally gave in, burying my feelings deep inside, never to let anyone know. But now, Victoria was becoming more and more unlike the person I knew, following Thomas's lead, neglecting her studies and safety, heading toward the path described in the comments. Victoria, how long are you going to keep pretending to be clueless? Victoria's actions of blowing on Thomas's wrist paused for a moment. She bit her lip and looked up at me. Martin, what do you mean? I mean, can't you see how much you've changed? Why do you have to act like this? Why do you have to degrade yourself for Thomas? Second male lead. Aren't you also degrading yourself? Please wake up. I'm speechless. Just get rid of all these crazy people. I really want to slap them all. Victoria clenched her fist, her eyes bloodshot, a few tears hanging at the corners of her eyes. Thomas saved my life, and we're a couple. Whatever we do is our business. You have no right to criticize us. Criticize. I suddenly realized how laughable I sounded, always putting Victoria first, yet now I had become the one meddling. I stepped forward and grabbed Victoria's arm. Are you really this deep in love with Thomas just because of what happened a year ago? Don't you know that it was actually? Before I could finish, Thomas stepped in front of Victoria, pushing me aside. Bro, Victoria is my girlfriend. Please stay away from her. The comments couldn't take it anymore. Taking credit for someone else's work, how can the male lead be so shameless? Male lead, have some shame. Poor second male lead. No matter how deep the love, it's no match for the male lead. Wake up and see the truth. I heard Thomas's shameless words and punched him in the face. Thomas was stunned by the punch, staggering back, unable to recover for a while. When Victoria saw Thomas had been hit, tears instantly fell from her eyes. She raised her hand and slapped me. Martin, have you lost your mind? This is your brother. How could you hit him? I touched the handprint on my face, still stinging, but I gritted my teeth, holding back tears, and grabbed Victoria's hand. Come back to school with me. Don't do something you'll regret. Martin, what's wrong with you today? Victoria jerked her hand away from mine, looking at me with disdain. But when she turned to look at Thomas, her eyes softened with affection. Thomas wiped the blood from his mouth and took Victoria's hand. I'm fine. Maybe my brother is just overwhelmed with school. Victoria, don't blame him. Victoria, however, was crying as she touched the bruise on Thomas's face, her voice trembling. He hit you so hard. How could you be fine? She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face, her eyes sharp with fury. Martin, I know what you're trying to say, that you were the one who donated blood for me, but let me tell you, I've always loved Thomas, and it was never about that blood. In that moment, I finally realized Victoria had always been clear about this. I had been foolish to think that donating blood and passing out could earn her love, but the truth was, she never loved me. It had always been this way. The second male lead is about to cry. The heroine never cared about his life. Second male lead, don't be foolish. The world is so big, don't waste your time on these two. Go ahead. There's someone better out there. Second male lead, just go. Victoria. Thomas's voice trembled, and it only made Victoria look at him with more pity. Don't blame my brother. It's my fault for being with you. Thomas, I love you. It's always been you. She stood up and left with Thomas. The vast empty land was now only me, a motorcycle, and the drifting sand. I walked back to school in despair. The entire night, I was tormented by nightmares, but when I woke up in the morning, I noticed Thomas wasn't in the bed opposite mine, and a feeling of fear swept over me. I thought of the comments saying Thomas would soon rise to prominence, becoming the true male protagonist, but Victoria was just one of his many admirers, insignificant, even though she had become pregnant, dropped out of school, and ruined herself for him. I hurried out of bed and ran to the girls' dormitory, waiting for a glimpse of Victoria, but instead, I saw her holding Thomas's hand, walking into the school gate, with a rosy flush on her face. When Victoria saw me, her eyes flickered with a hint of avoidance, but she still walked toward me. Chapter 3. Thomas looked at me smugly. Bro, what are you doing here so early? Are you looking for Victoria? But last night, I was with Victoria. It's over. The heroine has really gone down the wrong path now. Second male lead, run away. Don't be a sucker or you'll end up destroyed. Seeing the comments, I grabbed Thomas by the collar and swung a punch at him. Thomas, if you really love her, why are you dragging her down with you? Martin, what are you doing? Victoria pushed me away and hit me on the head with her bag. Martin, you jerk. Don't you dare touch Thomas. I covered my bleeding head and fell to the ground. Victoria, he's going to destroy you. What are you still clinging to? But Victoria kept advancing toward me, dragging her high heels across my chest and stepping on me hard, pinning me to the ground. You're the one who's deluded. Thomas and I are meant to be together. Why do you have to get in the way? Victoria jabbed her finger into my chest, causing so much pain that I coughed up blood. Passers-by watched, some of them even snickering. In that moment, I finally gave up and slapped Victoria across the face. I painfully made my way back to the dorm, staring at the college recommendation letter in front of me. A few days ago, when the homeroom teacher handed me the letter, my first instinct was to refuse it. A recommendation meant that Victoria and I would go our separate ways, lost to the winds of distance, but I was never the protagonist, so why should I expect to change Victoria's path? Second male lead is heartbroken. The heroine is so ruthless. Little dog, stop crying. Run away from these two crazy people. Please, author, give the second male lead a happy ending. Don't let him take the fall for the main guy. As I read the comments while filling out the recommendation letter, a figure suddenly appeared behind me and patted me on the back. Martin, what are you writing? I turned around and saw Thomas, instinctively hiding the letter to the side. In front of others, Thomas was harmless, but behind closed doors, he always tried to take anything I had, as if to prove how great he was. Seeing my action, Thomas's eyes darkened with malice. Martin, you're not writing a love letter, are you? He reached for the letter I was hiding behind me, and I desperately pressed it down. Thomas, it's just a piece of paper. What are you doing? What's wrong with a piece of paper? Let me see. Thomas twisted my arm, and in pain, I released my grip. He seized the opportunity and snatched the letter away. The moment he saw it, his eyes widened with fury. Martin, why are you going for a recommendation? I looked at him blankly. I've been at the top of my major for years. What's wrong with applying for a recommendation? Second male lead. Be careful. This bastard wants to steal your recommendation. If I remember correctly, the second male lead lost his chance to succeed because he gave up his recommendation. While the male lead rose to the top, the male lead doesn't deserve it. He only got there by stepping on the second male lead. He's a scumbag. Reading the comments, I finally realized that I was just a stepping stone in Thomas's journey to success. Thomas met my gaze, his eyes calculating. Before he spoke, give me the spot. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I scoffed twice. Thomas, you've always been my little brother, so I let you have whatever you wanted. And now, you're asking for this. I yanked the letter away from Thomas's hands. Even if I wanted to give it to you, do you deserve it? Thomas clenched his fists, glaring at me in rage. If you don't give it to me, I'll go tell Mom and Dad to cut off your allowance. Don't you know? They haven't given me an allowance for a long time. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Despite being the child of the Ning family, I was always the forgotten one. Thomas stood there, dumbfounded, before raising his head with a sneer. Martin, stop lying to me. I'll go tell Mom and Dad to give me your spot. Without another word, Thomas hurriedly left. That night, I received a call from my mom, telling me to immediately buy a late-night train ticket to come home. As I stepped off the train, holding my ticket in my hand, I couldn't stop the tears from falling, only to notice Victoria standing in the corner, watching me. What are you doing here? It's over. The heroine must be here for the male lead. Second male lead. Don't be fooled by her. Heroine, just leave him alone. Go find your men. The comments flooded in. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails nearly dug into my palm. Victoria walked toward me and took my hand. Martin, I heard you got the recommendation. Her words confirmed the intentions behind her actions, just as the comments had said, but I didn't speak, only nodded slightly. When I didn't respond, Victoria's gaze suddenly became intense, and she gripped my hand so tightly that it almost hurt. Martin, please give the spot to Thomas. You know he really needs this opportunity. Victoria, what if I need it too? It's okay, Martin. Without the recommendation, you can still take the entrance exam or find a job. You have plenty of options. I laughed bitterly. I never expected that to Victoria. My well-being meant so little. Victoria, stop trying to project your love for Thomas onto me. I don't need to pay the price for your love for him. No, it's not like that. Martin, you don't understand. He was crying in front of me this afternoon, feeling so wronged. He really needs this chance. I shook off her hand. I'm going home. Martin, you have to agree. Chapter 4. But I ignored Victoria. After an entire night on the train, it was already 7 a.m., and I could barely stand. Yet, Victoria clung to my sleeve, unwilling to let me go. Second male lead. Give the heroine a slap. Wake her up. Can love-struck fools just leave the world? This is so frustrating. It'd be best if the male lead showed up now, saw the heroine clinging to him, and gave up. They all go their separate ways, and everyone's happy. But I didn't slap Victoria as the comments suggested. The friendship of over 20 years, being childhood friends, made it so that pushing her away took everything I had. However, Just as the comments predicted, Thomas and my mom, Zara, drove over. Martin, you. Thomas immediately pulled Victoria towards him, acting all pitiful. Victoria, you and your brother. Seeing Thomas's eyes red with tears, Victoria hurriedly wiped them away and explained. No, Thomas. Nothing happened between Martin and me. I just came here to ask him to give you his recommendation spot. Hearing Victoria's words, Zara stepped up and slapped me across the face, catching me completely off guard. I was stunned and hurt, but I didn't know how to question her. Zara spoke sharply. Martin, I shouldn't have had you. All of Thomas's brilliance must have been stolen by you. Her words seemed absurd, but Zara had always believed Thomas was entitled to be the best, while my strengths were merely taken from Thomas. If it weren't for me, her Thomas would have been the most perfect person in the world. I held back my tears, refusing to let them fall, and looked up at her. So what, Mom? Do you think I should give Thomas my recommendation spot? Isn't that what you should do? If it weren't for you, Thomas wouldn't have suffered so much. You should repay him. Why should I? Am I not your son? In terms of suffering, has Thomas ever had even a fraction of what I've endured? The comments flooded in. Family really can ruin people. If it weren't for this mom, maybe the male lead and second male lead could still be good brothers. Second male lead, don't let your mom emotionally blackmail you. You didn't do anything wrong. Zara didn't say anything more, just glared at me and dragged me into the car. I sat in the front seat, watching Thomas and Victoria in the back, acting all affectionate with each other. When Zara saw me staring at the back, she glanced at me with a look that could kill. I didn't even bother to argue with her. I just closed my eyes and said nothing. By the time we got home, I was so exhausted from the overnight train ride that I collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep almost immediately. Before I could even sleep soundly, the blanket was suddenly ripped away. I opened my eyes with difficulty, only to see Thomas, holding my blanket, giving me a sly smile. He then spoke loudly. Bro, don't be mad. I was just thinking of giving you a thicker blanket. When Zara heard Thomas's pitiful voice, she walked in, hands on her hips, looking at me with disdain. Martin, your brother was just trying to help you with your blanket. Why are you getting so upset? She grabbed the blanket from Thomas's hands and inspected it. This one looks fine to me. It's just that Thomas is considerate. If it were me, I wouldn't even bother with you. Damn it. Second male lead. Don't listen to her nonsense. Second male lead. Please tear that blanket open. There's probably moldy cotton inside. How can a mother be so shameless? Reading these comments, I felt a mixture of doubt and disbelief. I wiped my eyes and grabbed the blanket from Zara's hands, tearing it right in front of her. It was just a bunch of scrap fabric, and as I tore it apart, old, blackened cotton fell out. In that moment, I finally understood. To Zara, my comfort had never mattered. In all the years I spent at home, I was always the one with colds and fevers. Zara would always say it was my fault, that I was too fragile. But in reality, for Zara, simply giving me these cheap blankets was already considered a great kindness. Seeing the rotten cotton inside, Zara took a few steps back, looking guilty. What are you doing? Zara demanded. I shook my head, biting my lip. Nothing. I was just curious how a blanket like this could possibly keep someone warm. Zara, gripping her clothes, turned her face away. You've been off at university, always away from home. How could I know anything about the quality of these blankets? Well, say whatever you want. Let me rest for a while. After the long train ride, I'm too tired to argue with you. But Victoria's voice called from the living room. Auntie, Thomas, the food's getting cold. Aren't you coming to eat? Hearing Victoria's words, Thomas shot me a glance before responding sarcastically. Bro, Mom made a lot of food for you. Don't you want to show some appreciation? What a scumbag. Here he goes acting again. Second male lead. Don't let him get to you. Just live your life. I understand why the second male lead turned dark now. It's so clear. Thomas, let's go. Don't pay any attention to him. He thinks he's all grown up, but he has no idea how hard it is to be a mom. Chapter 5. Zara's veiled sarcasm pushed me to the point where I had no choice but to drag my exhausted body to sit up. But as soon as I sat down at the table and saw all the extravagant food, I felt nauseous. Zara, noticing this, disdainfully picked up a shrimp and placed it on my plate. Black tiger shrimp. I specifically went to the market to get it. Eat it. Don't always think I'm being biased. You should reflect on how poorly your behavior has been. I've been acting poorly. Tears streamed down the corners of my eyes as I tightly gripped my chopsticks. But I can't eat shrimp. You know I'm allergic. Zara's face showed a moment of panic, and she hastily grabbed several pieces of food and shoved them into her mouth. After a moment, she slammed her chopsticks down and spoke. Martin, I heard you got the recommendation. The comments flooded in. Disgusting. So desperate to show their intentions. What kind of mother is this? Second male lead. Don't fall for your mom's tricks. If you give up the recommendation, your life will be over. Second male lead. You're going to be excluded from everything and your life will go downhill if you give up the recommendation. Reading the comments, I thought for a moment and realized the path I was on. The original direction was that I gave up the recommendation for Thomas. Afterward, I failed my graduate exams and struggled to find work. When Thomas returned, I would be nothing but a worthless failure, and Thomas would manipulate me into covering up his company's shady dealings, sending me to prison for life. I nodded. Yes, so what? Zara saw my attitude and her expression turned angry. You know how hard Thomas has it, so you should make way for him. Just give him the spot. I picked up my food and said, the recommendation is based on grades. He doesn't have them. It doesn't matter. I can use money to make connections for him. It's not a problem. I sneered. Zara had never thought to do anything for me. Ever since I went to university, she hadn't given me a single cent. I really didn't know who had it harder. Since you have so much money, why don't you just buy a recommendation spot for him? Martin, Thomas is your brother. What's wrong with giving him the spot? Exactly. Thomas has worked so hard. Why doesn't he deserve a recommendation? Victoria chimed in, looking up at me through teary eyes, leaning into Thomas's arms. Really? I stood up and walked over to Victoria, lifting her chin. Then, how about I give the spot to Thomas? And Thomas, you give Victoria to me. Victoria immediately jumped back, and Thomas glared at me with fury. Bro, if you don't want to give it, don't. Why insult us like this? I paced back and forth, staring at the bowl of rice in front of me, which only contained a few pieces of rice and that shrimp I couldn't eat. Yes, I'm insulting you because, after all these years, haven't you insulted me enough? Martin, I can see now. You came back just to make me angry. Zara feigned weakness, clutching her chest. If you don't give the spot to Thomas, I'll pretend I never had you as a son, then pretend you never had me. I turned and left without a second thought. Behind me, Zara grabbed a bowl and threw it at me. I turned around and caught the bowl, my tears falling into it. With a loud crash, I threw it high, and the bowl shattered on the ground, just like how everything between us had shattered. From now on, we won't have any more interactions. You can continue doting on your little son, and as for me, we'll be strangers when we meet. Martin, come back here. If you don't, I'll disown you as my son. Wait, what just happened? Did I miss something? This plot is going all wrong. Second male lead has finally used his brain. He didn't give up the recommendation. The comments were full of surprise. Despite the chaos behind me, I didn't look back. Once back at school, I immediately filled out the recommendation form and handed it to my advisor. Then, I moved out of the dorm. Since Thomas was in the bed across from me, I felt uneasy. Once I moved out, I wouldn't have to see him anymore. As for him and Victoria, they no longer had anything to do with me. But while I was moving my things, Thomas suddenly returned, just as I was about to leave, and we bumped into each other. It's over. The male lead is back. Is he here to stir things up again? The recommendation form is already submitted. He's beyond redemption now. Second male lead. Punch him. Seeing my luggage, Thomas eyed me suspiciously and kicked it aside. Martin, what are you doing? I'm telling you, you better go back and apologize to Mom. She's really mad this time. I pushed his hand away. It's none of your business. How is it none of my business? Are you planning to move out? Where are you getting the money from? Did you ask Mom for it? Thomas grabbed my sleeve, persistently questioning me. I turned around and pinned him against the wall. I told you, it's none of your business. Don't provoke me, or I can't guarantee what I'll do. What are you doing? You want to hit me? You think I won't tell Mom? I sneered, pulling his collar. I'm not hitting you because I don't want to, but if you keep pushing me, I won't hesitate. Seeing the coldness in my eyes, Thomas's once cocky attitude disappeared. He backed off meekly. For all these years, he'd only dared to provoke me because of Zara, and because of our familial connection. I'd always let it slide, but now, I didn't want to take it anymore. Chapter 6. I watched the comments in front of me. Did I see that right? The second male lead threatened the male lead, and the male lead just ran away obediently. My second male lead is finally becoming strong, taking the male lead's position. Oh my God, who can understand this? I remember crying my heart out for the second male lead the first time I watched this, but now, it's second male lead fans. I dragged my luggage out of the school and rented a small apartment nearby with the money I had saved over the years. For the last few months, I hadn't seen Thomas or Victoria. Even the school, I avoided as much as I could. I only went to school occasionally to do experiments with my advisor. Thomas had his grand male lead aura, and it had nothing to do with me. I just hoped he wouldn't interfere with my life. As for Victoria, someone who didn't love me but still tried to use me wasn't worth a single thought from me. I had never considered what life would be like alone. Now, I cooked, read, and spent my time on my own, lying in the chair on the balcony, letting the sunlight warm my face. I felt a peace I had never known. During this time, Zara called me a few times, but I didn't answer. After all, her words were always about how unfilial I was and how she wished she had never had me. They were unpleasant words. Why waste my time answering them? But as graduation approached, Victoria also kept calling me. Looking at the missed calls on my phone, I stared at the screen in a daze. It used to be me trying to reach her, but she wouldn't give me the time of day. Now, it was her trying to reach me, and I was indifferent. On graduation day, I finally saw Victoria. To my surprise, she was already visibly pregnant. Just as the original plot had suggested, she was pregnant for Thomas. But Thomas was the grand male lead with many admirers. She was just one of many. What is the heroine trying to do? Is she going to make the second male lead a sucker? If the plot follows its original course, won't the second male lead willingly help raise the heroine's child? Please, second male lead, don't go crazy. The heroine made her own mess. Don't rush to clean it up. Looking at the comments, I realized what my feelings must have been at that time. I had loved Victoria for 20 years, and when I saw her suffer, how could I bear it? Naturally, I did whatever she asked, even if it meant being the one to pick up the pieces. But now, I could see everything clearly. Victoria, with her pregnant belly, walked towards me, and I stepped back, but she caught my arm. Martin, don't go. Victoria, what do you want? Martin, I'm pregnant. It's Thomas's. I sneered, glancing at her belly. I figured that out. So what? Martin, I know you love me. Since you love me, can you love me a little more? And love my child too? I could hardly believe what I was hearing. It was like filthy words in my ears. Victoria, do you know what you're saying? Are you out of your mind? No, it's not like that. Martin, I'll make this child call you dad. It'll be your child. No need, I said with disdain. Why should I get dragged into this? This is Thomas's child. Thomas has his big ambitions. He said this child will only hold him back. But you, Martin, you're a good person. I stepped away from Victoria as she tried to grab my hand, walking briskly. Victoria, I've tried to bring you back to your senses, but you wouldn't listen. Martin, I heard Victoria's screams behind me but couldn't imagine what her future would be like. I even realized that one day, the comments disappeared from my screen. Maybe the story had reached its conclusion, or maybe I had simply left the story behind, but at least, I hadn't followed the original plot. I didn't lose my recommendation spot, didn't become a sucker, and didn't end up dead. After graduating from a top-tier university, I continued on to pursue my doctorate. That spring, companies from all over reached out to me with offers. I followed the momentum and went abroad, where I started my own company and had a prosperous life. Years later, when I returned to the country, I saw someone lying on the street covered in a tattered quilt, looking oddly familiar. When I got closer, I realized it was Thomas. In the cold winter, wrapped in that torn quilt, he had already frozen to death. People around said he was on the verge of success but was ruined at the last moment. His wife exposed all his crimes because of his affair. He spent 10 years in prison. By the time he got out, his elderly mother had passed away. His wife and children were gone, and he was left alone, holding that same broken quilt, muttering, "I'm the male lead." Thus, his dream was shattered on that winter day, and I never looked back.